Good evening, everyone. My name is Rachel Venema, and as the BSW Program Director, it is my sincere pleasure to greet you on behalf of the Social Work Program at Calvin University and welcome you to our first ever virtual commissioning ceremony for the class of 2020 social work graduates. This is not the way any of us hope to celebrate this major accomplishment, but we are grateful for technology, and we hope that our efforts to put together something meaningful for you demonstrates how proud we are of you, graduates. To friends and family watching, we hope that this virtual ceremony helps you celebrate with these graduates and gives you a glimpse of what makes us most proud and grateful to work at Calvin, our students. We have been blessed to share in their journey over the past 4 years, and now it is time to send them out into the field of social work as colleagues. We put together this commissioning ceremony video so that you may hear from a variety of people at Calvin who want to celebrate with you. I want to take a moment to thank Bonnie Mulder, our department assistant, for all of her work organizing the details of this event. Again, welcome to the Social Work Commissioning Ceremony for the class of 2020.
Congratulations to the graduates of Calvin University's Bachelor of Social Work program. It's an honor to say a few words of congratulations and gratitude to you today at this virtual commissioning ceremony. Thank you for your faithful engagement here on campus, not only through your studies, but also through the ways you encouraged others along your path and sought opportunities to advocate for justice through Christ's love. We already miss your presence on campus, but we rejoice in the completion of your degree and the important work ahead of you. Go as Christ's agents of renewal, loving and serving him. And now I ask you to join me in prayer. Creator God, you are our great healer and redeemer. We thank you for these gifted graduates, brimming with knowledge, wisdom, and passion for your people. Thank you for sending them into the world, which is in need of renewal. Thank you for friends and family, professors and advisors, all those who've guided and encouraged these graduates along the journey. Renew their energy and enthusiasm at every turn. May they continue to think deeply, to act justly, and to live wholeheartedly by your design. We pray these things in the name of Jesus. Amen.
For this year's speech, we figured that since your face-to-face time with your professors was cut short, we'd make up for it by electing ourselves to give your commissioning speech. So in this speech, you'll be hearing clips from each of the full-time social work faculty. We chose to use Calvin's mission statement as our framework, which is the following. Calvin equips students to think deeply, to act justly, and to live wholeheartedly as Christ's agents of renewal in the world. I'll start by focusing on the first 3 words. Calvin equips students. Now, we like to take credit for you social work graduates, but we know that you come to us pretty great already, and we know that you are the ones putting in the hard work. We like to complain about grading sometimes, but you are the ones reading the text, writing the paper, managing 2 jobs, calming your anxieties in the interviewing lab, and getting through that biology course. Calvin only equips you because you have invested in your own learning. And like I said, you come to us pretty great. I'd like to take this moment to say a word to those watching who supported you to make it to this point. Thank you for equipping these graduates in so many different ways to become the people they are today. We are so proud of them. So clearly it is not just Calvin University that equips you, but I do believe that Calvin did in fact equip you even further. Social work students, you know I wouldn't say these things if I didn't have data to support it. Well, you're lucky because a social research class this spring happened to conduct a study with BSW alumni from the past 10 years. In that survey, 90% of alumni stated that the Calvin BSW program prepared them well for their current employment. Here's what one recent alum said. Where to start? I would not be the person I am today without the impact of this program. Calvin's BSW program equipped me with the invaluable lens of social justice that is beyond relevant wherever I go. Still clouded by my own issues and biases, I don't see the world with a perfect eye, but I notice so much more than I previously had, and I serve and act in a way that is far more intentional than it would have been had I chosen another degree or college. Because of my BSW education, I filter my life choices, personally and professionally, with a conviction of doing good, just work, rather than band-aidy or oppressive work. I was challenged immensely in my 4 years as my blissful ignorance fell away, but what was left was a human who saw the world with an eye more like Christ. The last point I want to make related to these 3 words, Calvin equips students, is to emphasize that you have what you need. You are enough. Now, I don't mean that you know everything. You don't. None of us do. There is a lot to learn, and you will be tested and challenged, but you are equipped. You have a solid foundation of knowledge, skills, and values that will serve you in this profession. What I want is for you to know that, to believe that. I want you to lean into the reality that you are equipped. And I believe that God, the one who breathes life in us and new mercies each morning, sustains us in this work. And God will not leave you. The most important part of the mission statement is yet to come. Calvin equips students. For what purpose? To what aim?
During your time here at Calvin, you've likely heard the phrase, think deeply, or deep thinking quite a bit. Perhaps by now you equate thinking deeply to identifying a peer-reviewed journal article, perhaps crafting your social work capstone paper, or maybe you're even thinking about the future in terms of your continuing education. And that's all well and good. But my hope for you today is that you will continue to be intellectually curious, that you will seek to solve complex problems and promote understanding. I hope you won't take things at first glance, but rather that you'll investigate the validity of claims. Perhaps that's something that's more important in this world today than it has been in the past. I pray that you will use your mind to critically examine and respond to the needs of your clients, of your loved ones, and of the communities in which you find yourself. I pray you will continue to cultivate these gifts of thinking deeply as you further seek to serve our world.
Act justly. I'm going to cheat a bit and link thinking deeply and living wholeheartedly with acting justly. Because acting justly requires both truth and love, both wisdom and empathy. The curiosity to want to really understand the other. The conviction that everyone you meet is worth trying to understand. That they are created in the image of the triune God. You may think deeply, but if that thinking is not done with empathy, in love, you will not discover the truth. Or as Jesus says, quoting from the prophet Isaiah, you will be ever hearing, but never understanding. You will be ever seeing, but never perceiving. For this people's heart has become calloused. They hardly hear with their ears, and they have closed their eyes. Otherwise, they might see with their eyes, hear with their ears, understand with their hearts. To understand, not with your mind, but with your heart. Empathy. So think deeply, but never let your thinking be the cold calculations of a person with a hard and calloused heart. Let your thinking be guided by love. Be always inclined towards the other. Nicholas Walterstorff argues that empathy for the wronged, for the oppressed, for the downtrodden, is what leads us to act justly. If justice is abstracted, if it is removed from the reality of the world around us, if we no longer see the faces of the wronged, no longer hear their voices, if justice is not wrapped up in our love of God and our love of neighbor, it will be injustice. It will be punitive and not restorative. An example. Last year, I taught a class to your fellow seniors at the Richard Hanlon Correctional Facility in Ionia, members of the first cohort of the Calvin Prison Initiative. Social workers know, because we've taught you, all about mass incarceration. You know that the United States has 5% of the world's population, but 25% of the world's incarcerated population. That the United States of America incarcerates more of its citizens per capita than any other nation on earth. That much of this has been driven by institutional racism. That prisoners are being disproportionately impacted by COVID-19. In Luke 4, when Jesus announces his ministry, again quoting from Isaiah, he says that the Spirit of the Lord is on me because he has anointed me to proclaim freedom for the prisoners. In Matthew 25, Jesus condemns those who neglect justice, saying, "I was in prison and you did not visit me." I think Jesus knows that if we are to act justly, we need to place ourselves in relationships with the oppressed, that true justice is driven by solidarity, not pity. So listen to the stories. Do not harden your heart. Then act justly. When we close our eyes and ears, when we listen to the voices telling us we need to be afraid of men like the CPI students, we lose sight of the gifts they have to offer us. You know this because you have studied alongside some of those who have been released from prison and joined us at the main campus. Their story is just one, a reminder that injustice is not an abstract concept. It has touched all of your lives. It is part of your stories. It has inspired many of you to do the work of social work. Some of you are the first in your family to have access to higher education. Some of you have watched family members struggle to obtain health insurance or struggle with mental health or substance abuse. Some of you have experienced sexual assault. Some of you have had to worry not just about the exam, but about whether your family member will be deported. Some of you have faced discrimination because of who you are or who you love. Here's what John Calvin said in his commentary on Micah 6:8. Justice, which is to be exercised towards men, is the real evidence of true religion. Hypocrites place all holiness in external rites. The prophets try the conduct of men in another way, by inquiring whether they act justly and kindly towards one another. So act justly, with empathy. Do not harden your hearts, and do not be afraid.
To live wholeheartedly, passionately, fully, genuinely, enthusiastically, heartily, whole-souled. Calvin's motto is, "My heart I offer to you, Lord, promptly and sincerely." So not just our minds, not just our actions or activities, but our hearts. How can you talk about living wholeheartedly without talking about Brené Brown? You students know I love Brené Brown. So Dr. Brené Brown is a social work professor and a world-renowned researcher on shame and vulnerability. Through her research, she noticed that many people are held back by shame and let fear of vulnerability limit their potential. Yet, as a good strengths-based social worker, she noted that there were some exceptions. Brown called these outliers the wholehearted. So she began studying what made the wholehearted unique, and she began looking for people living and loving with their whole hearts despite the risks and uncertainty. She noticed that where others approach life half-heartedly, wholehearted people have the courage to bring their full selves to the table. The themes that emerged were that wholehearted people have a sense of worthiness, to believe they are worthy and to know they are enough. They have courage to tell their story and to be themselves. They have compassion for themselves and for others. They have the ability to connect with others. Wholehearted people practice gratitude. They lean into joy and they practice vulnerability. They let themselves be seen and they live and love with their whole heart, knowing there are no guarantees. You know who that reminds me of? You, the Calvin BSW graduates of 2020. I have witnessed wholeheartedness in you. I have seen you live with courage and compassion, gratitude and vulnerability. I've watched the ways you have related and supported each other with genuine connection and compassion, often bringing your full selves to the table. This has not been an easy year. And yet I have seen many of you exploring and embracing the ways that beauty and brokenness are bound together in yourselves, in one another, in the world. I've experienced your wholeheartedness as you cared deeply for your professors and invested in knowing us as humans. I've read in your journals the way that you approach clients wholeheartedly, knowing that those relationships come with risk and uncertainty, requiring something from deep within. To live and love wholeheartedly means to risk rejection and failure and to choose to enter in anyway. 2 Corinthians 12:9 says, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness." Jesus doesn't call us to be half-hearted or lukewarm, rather to be wholehearted disciples who engage the messy reality of human existence and broken systems. He calls us to live in grace and courage, vulnerability and perseverance, to follow Christ with our whole hearts. And since in Christ we live and move and have our being, since our belonging and our purpose and our worthiness is in Him, not in ourselves, we are compelled to live as wholehearted social workers, as Christ's agents of renewal in this world.
As God's agent of renewal in this world, as the people of God, we all know that we need to live and love like Jesus Christ. We are invited as God's co-workers to participate in His plan for this broken world while living, thinking, and acting in the world a Jesus-like manner. In particular, our job, social worker, is a great profession to fulfill this mission in that we serve to bridge the gap between God and the brokenness of the world. And you have already begun this work. During your internships, you have worked hard to bring positive changes to the lives of your client and to serve our communities as God's co-workers. You advocate on behalf of vulnerable, those who are homeless, drug addicted, recently released from prison, and refugees. You listen to the lonely, help the children, and love the elderly. However, we all know that living like Jesus in the world is not as easy as it sounds. I think that during your internship period, you experienced it in that you had to handle a lot of troubles and hardship, including COVID-19. And there will be challenges in your future. I am 100% confident, there is no margin of error, that there will be times that you will be disappointed with your social practice settings, your supervisors, your coworkers, or yourself. So there may be times in the future that you will beat yourself up for even choosing the social profession when you face hardship and confront uncertainty. In this situation, it is hard to swallow and trust His plan for each of us as Christ's agent of transformation of this world. As a social worker and Christian, however, I want to say that this is time for us to remember God's pronouncement in Psalm chapter 46, verse 10. Be at peace in the knowledge that I'm God, supreme among the nations, supreme over the world. As you know, while living in the US, I have experienced a lot of anxiety and troubles due to immigrant issues. I also have dealt with burnout and secondary trauma when I was working as a practitioner. I did my best to resolve all the troubles for myself, but I failed. When I stopped fighting and totally depended on Him, He started to work. So do not worry. He will make a way for you and me in a creative way because He loves us. We can just keep in mind that He called us to change and renew this world with the power of His love. So graduate, in the power of Christ's love, we send you out equipped to think deeply, to act justly, and to live wholeheartedly as His agent of renewal in the world. Thank you.
I would like to present to you the Calvin University Bachelor of Social Work graduates, the class of 2020. Jacob Bowl. Amy Bristol. Michael Dutler. Caleb Ferguson. Michelle Guzman. Mathea Ismond. Andrea Jordan. Bill Larzalier. Lily Lemkuhl. David Mulder. Abigail Parecki. Marie Plymert. Jennifer Randall. Kate Reilersdam. Brittany Statema. Nicole Suida. Kevin Tran. Jeanette Van Baren. Selena Walters. Jessica Wilcoxon. Mian Zeiderveen. Our interdisciplinary majors with a concentration in social work are Clarissa Shantz, Akira Thompson, and Emma Vanderkalk. Congratulations to all of you on a job well done.
I have the privilege of introducing one of our student speakers this evening. The student speaker is nominated by their peers in the social work program, and this year, Nicole Suida receives this honor. This was no surprise to faculty. In fact, earlier this spring, we selected Nicole as the recipient of the National Association of Social Workers, NASW Michigan Chapter, Student of the Year Award. When I think about Nicole, this is what I hear. Yeah, I can do that. You don't know how many times I've heard Nicole say that nonchalantly. Yeah, I can do that. Whether it was running some complicated data analysis or being asked to seek feedback from peers about some happening in the program, Nicole was on it. Nicole is a strong leader, serving on our social work program committee for 4 years, organizing guest speakers, and helping to promote the social work major to incoming students. Nicole has an impressive resume as an undergraduate, co-authoring 2 peer-reviewed journal articles and presenting research results at a national conference. One of my greatest joys in teaching at Calvin is the relationships that we develop with students. I have had the great pleasure of getting to know Nicole, from learning of our shared interest in canning to our love for coffee. Like all of us, Nicole does not know what the future holds, but I am confident that Nicole will show up with a willing and eager spirit. Yeah, I can do that, putting forward the best that the social work profession has to offer. Please join me in welcoming Nicole Suida as our student speaker for the class of 2020 BSW graduates.
Classmates, friends, faculty, and family. Like you, I wish this speech was happening in one room, with all of us together to celebrate the achievements of each and every graduate here today. Though it's under very unfortunate circumstances, we're still here to celebrate years of hard work, dedication, and accomplishment. A few weeks ago, when it was obvious that this ceremony could not take place in person, I felt very upset and a little bit like we just shouldn't do anything at all. I said that to Professor Huxema, and she very quickly reminded me that we had to have a healthy termination of services. She was right. Not only that, but we have to look for the strengths in these circumstances, which thankfully we all know how to do very well. Don't let the last 2 months of school overshadow the many, many months of studying, procrastinating, reading, and writing that we've all done to get here. We've written papers we thought would never end, read chapters we had no idea what the author was saying. We've discerned like you've never seen before, and we learned about Jane Addams and Mary Richmond like 12 times. I'm happy to say I finally know the main differences between the two, and it only took about the first 10 times of me learning. So I'd say that's a win. As social work majors, we also got to do some less than typical coursework. The stories from Social Work 370, the interviewing class, are infamous. There's really nothing like pretending to be a competent social worker, counseling a fake married couple played by your friends as they hash out years of marital strain while your classmates watch through a one-way mirror. Everyone has a 370 story just waiting to be told, and if you haven't heard one, then you should ask around. We also have our senior year field placements, which gave many of us new experiences and learning opportunities that we never expected. Though they were cut short, we're extremely thankful for the opportunities we did have. I also want to thank each family here for listening to us social work graduates talk for probably way too long about all the things that we learned in field. We did more than learn here in the social work program, though. We had a ton of fun, and I think all the other departments knew it. We filled the department office every month with our coffee breaks. We celebrated new babies entering the social work department family. We explored Hull House in Chicago, sang karaoke, and had the coolest travel mugs Calvin's ever seen. We built a great community here, one that I'll always remember. I'm so proud of the things that happened here and so grateful to our professors for the role that they played in that. Even when I was mad at them for making papers so hard, I always knew that they had our backs and best interests in mind. My last thank you is to all the graduates today. It's been a privilege to learn alongside you, and I can't wait to see the things that we do. Congratulations.
It's my privilege to introduce our second student speaker, Andrea Jordan. As Professor Venema said, these speakers are chosen by their peers in recognition of their leadership in the program. This is certainly the case with Andrea, who is a natural leader who has used her gifts and her voice to encourage both her peers and the institution at large to ask tough questions and to more authentically pursue inclusion, anti-racism, and social justice. She has worked with student life programs both at Calvin and at Michigan State University, where she served with the Multicultural Apprenticeship Program, working to encourage first-generation students and students of color to consider attending college. She worked with our Service Learning Center as the Kaufman Interfaith intern, taking groups of Calvin students to visit and dialogue with our neighbors at a local masjid, Sikh Gurdwara, and Buddhist temple. Before COVID-19 cut her time short, she was completing a prestigious internship in Washington, D.C., the first student our program has ever placed at the Smithsonian's National Museum of African American History and Culture. Andrea exemplifies so many qualities we hope to see in all our graduates: a deep commitment to navigating issues of identity and difference in ways that respect dignity and advance social justice. I got to know Andrea best during our time together on the Ghana semester program in 2018. Anyone who knows her will tell you that Andrea is energetic, enthusiastic, and has an infectious and loud laugh. My wife, Jocelyn, and I look back on the time we spent with her and the other students on the Ghana semester as one of the best times of our lives. And Andrea continues to be a part of our extended family. When her mother visited from Guatemala, they babysat our new daughter, Micah. So it is with professional pride and personal affection that I introduce to you Andrea Jordan.
Social Work Class of 2020. As we celebrate together the closing of our undergrad chapter at Calvin University, we should too celebrate our uniqueness and our diverse experiences. Some of us came to Calvin as part of a long family tradition. Some of us are first-generation college students, the children of hard-working immigrants. Some of us are part of the Calvin Prison Initiative. Some of us traveled miles, and some of us crossed the street to get here. Some of us identify as members of the LGBTQ community, and some of us as allies. Some of us had the privilege of visiting family on the weekends, and some of us had to miss special holidays with their families. Some of us were privileged to study abroad, and some of us didn't. Some of us were inspired by mothers and fathers who are social workers. Some of us by our adopted siblings, and some of us even by our own experience as adopted children. We are all quite different, but we share some of the same passions and hopes. We share a love for people, a passion for helping, and a desire to change the world. A desire to be in communion with others and to hear their stories. Recognizing the differences but also the humanity in each one of them. We remember taking one of our very first classes with Professor Shander. We remember hearing Kailma's voice in the hallways and wondering what it would be like to take a class with him. We walked past the office, wanting to get to know the lady at the front desk. Bunny, thank you for spoiling us with your love, your smile, and also the candy. We were thrilled and excited after being accepted into the program. We felt a strong sense of belonging after reading the Code of Ethics. Yeah, some of us are that nerdy, like Professor Alfred would say. We enjoyed Professor Ma and Professor Venema singing karaoke and the times that Professor Han brought food for us. We realized how difficult it is to change power structures. We were overwhelmed. Professor Hoxman reminded us that we were not expected to do it all. She comforted us. We deal with issues of health and the loss of loved ones. We cried, we laughed. We were challenged and shaped while learning our purpose in the field and finding our own worldview. We finally realized what life is like when taking a class with Professor Kailma. When we started adapting to our placement, a pandemic hit. Some of us were stressed, disappointed, upset, and sad. Some of us were able to remain productive and positive, and some of us didn't. Some of us are anxious and worried about the future. We feel insecure and overwhelmed. Some of us are excited and eager. We feel prepared, capable, and determined. Some of us feel uncertain. Some of us feel hopeful. We are all different, and so are our experiences. As we think about the future, I invite you to embrace your own experience and to value that of others without judgment. To remember that our role as social workers is to listen, learn, and pass the mic to those who society has silenced. And as we go into a new chapter in our life, it is my hope that we continue the journey of learning and growing into better humans.
Hello, I'm Michelle Lloyd-Page, Executive Associate to the President for Diversity and Inclusion here at Calvin University, also an alum, class of '81, and a graduate out of the Department of Sociology and Social Work. I'm so happy to be with you all today, even if it is virtually. It's my pleasure to share with you a litany of thanks and celebration, and to conclude with a benediction. Please hear these words. Let us give thanks for this moment. This moment is not as we had imagined it would be, but this is a moment, nevertheless, that is a gift from God, and it is a time for celebration. Standing on the edge of a milestone, we offer to God what we have to give, ourselves, the stirring of our hearts, and our thanks. We give you humble thanks, O God. Let us give thanks for our graduates today and lift them up to God, for they have been a gift to us and to many others. During this season of uncertainty and new beginnings, we ask that God would make their way clear, keep their footsteps firm, and remind them that they are loved unconditionally. Let us give you humble thanks, O God. Let us give thanks to our graduates today and pray that God would direct their steps, that God's plans for them would prosper, that every place that God has determined for them to walk would be paved clear. We ask God for you to open the doors that need to be opened and to close every one that should be shut tight. O God, hear our prayer and allow every gift and treasure you have placed inside their lives to grow, develop, and flourish, and to bring you glory. We give you humble thanks, O God. Let us give thanks for the families and the homes into which these graduating seniors were born, and for the ones in which that they have been nurtured. We are grateful for the many forms that family and the multiple places that have been called home. And let us give thanks for the teachers, the supervisors, professors, and counselors who have imparted knowledge, guidance, and words of encouragement that brought them to this place. Many become more than educators. They have become family and friends to the graduates. We give you humble thanks, O God. Let us give thanks to God who watches and sings over us. We sing with God as we watch these graduating seniors complete this phase of their education and move out from here into new directions for their lives. We ask that you, O God, would be with them as they go and strengthen them as they take on new responsibilities in this world. Give them and us faith and encouragement as we seek to think deeply, act justly, and live wholeheartedly as Christ's agents of renewal in this world. We give you humble thanks, O God. And now for the benediction. Graduates, this celebration represents the culmination of years of study. No doubt many of you have shouted, whispered, cried, and spoken many prayers over your academic journey at Calvin. With this benediction, I will add to those prayers. In the faith tradition that speaks best to you, I invite you to pray with me. Creator of all that is, we ask that you would bless the lives of these graduates from this day on with goodness and provision. Enable them to stay true to their dreams for your greater glory, to discern what is right, good, and just, and to use their gifts wisely and in the service of others. Empower them to walk into the future with faith, hope, and great joy, guided by your light, so that they may use their talents as agents of renewal in this world. Grace be to them. Grace be to us all. Amen.
Seven shooting stars in one night. The water and sand in our eyesight. The rocks in our hands preparing for flight. The lack of sleep in